The deep space research ship Aurora drifted in silence through the edge of the Virex system. Outside the ship, a sea of glowing red dust stretched across the dark. The stars looked dim and tired in this forgotten part of the galaxy. Inside, the crew moved quietly, focused on their instruments. Rin sat near the main observation window. He was not a soldier or a great scientist. He was an explorer, chosen for his calm nature and steady heart. The Aurora had been searching for traces of ancient civilizations, and now they had found something strange. On the scanners, a massive shape appeared, larger than any known ship, made of both metal and living material. It floated near a dying star, its surface cracked and scarred. Energy readings were weak but still active. The ship looked like it was asleep, waiting for someone to wake it. The captain of the Aurora ordered a survey team to investigate. Rin volunteered immediately. He had always been curious about old things and forgotten worlds. When the small shuttle detached from the main ship, he felt both nervous and excited. The shuttle entered the structure through a broken gateway. The interior was huge, dark, and silent. Strange vines of metal crawled along the walls, pulsing faintly with blue light. The air felt thick, as if the place was holding its breath. Rin walked slowly, scanning the walls. His steps echoed in the endless halls. His voice came through the comms softly. "Captain, I think this place was alive once. The walls are breathing." The captain replied, "Stay alert, Rin. Record everything. We need to know if this is safe." Rin nodded and moved forward. He reached a large chamber filled with floating crystals that gave off a gentle glow. In the center stood a tall, transparent capsule. Inside it rested a figure. Not human, not machine, but something beautiful and strange. The being was tall, almost twice Rin's height. Her skin shimmered like glass, shifting between silver and blue. Delicate strands of light flowed across her body like rivers. Her eyes were closed and her face looked calm, almost peaceful. Rin's scanner beeped suddenly. A weak energy pulse came from the capsule. The systems around it began to awaken, lights flickering one by one. Rin took a step back as the floor trembled slightly. The capsule released a hiss of air, and the figure inside began to move. Her eyes opened. They glowed softly, bright like twin stars. For a moment she looked confused. Then her gaze fell on Rin. He froze. The being inside the capsule turned her head slowly, studying him with curiosity and fear. Her voice echoed inside his mind, not through sound but like a thought. "Who are you?" she asked. Rin hesitated before answering, speaking softly. "My name is Rin. I'm from Earth. I mean no harm. We came here to learn." The Queen blinked slowly. Her eyes seemed to see more than just his face. They seemed to look inside his mind, searching for truth. "Earth," she repeated. "I do not know this world." "You are not Virex," Rin nodded. "No, we are human. I found your ship drifting. I think you were asleep for a long time." The being stepped forward. Her movements were graceful, but her body seemed weak. She touched the edge of her capsule, and the floor lit up beneath her feet. The walls around them came alive with lines of glowing symbols. "I am Mira," she said, "last queen of the Virex Dominion." Rin slowly lowered his scanner, showing respect. "It's an honor to meet you, Queen Mira." She tilted her head, confused. "Honor? That word still exists among other races?" Rin smiled slightly. "Yes, among humans too." The Queen looked around the dark chamber. Her expression turned heavy. "My people are gone. My world is gone. I am alone." Rin wanted to say something, but no words came. The silence in that great hall felt ancient. Mira touched a crystal nearby and an image appeared, a memory from long ago. It showed shining cities, giant towers rising from oceans of light, and creatures that looked like her walking proudly among the stars. Then the image changed. Fire, war, worlds collapsing. The Virex ships fell into the dark. When the memory faded, she whispered, "This is what remains of my empire." Dust and silence. Rin felt a strange sadness. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. She looked at him again. "Why do you say sorry?" "You are not one of us." "Because loss feels the same no matter who suffers it," Rin said. For the first time, the Queen's eyes softened. She studied the small human standing before her. His suit was scratched and worn. His face was tired but kind. He carried no weapon, only curiosity. "You came here alone?" she asked. "My team is nearby," Rin answered. "But I came inside to see what this place was." The Queen stepped closer, her tall form casting a faint blue light over him. "Humans," she murmured. "Soft creatures made of water and fear, yet they walk into the dark without hesitation." Rin chuckled. "We walk into the dark because we want to see what's there." Her eyes glowed brighter for a second. "Curiosity," she said softly. "That is what doomed the Virex. We wanted to reshape stars. We forgot to listen to them." Rin looked around the chamber. "Maybe curiosity is not the curse. Maybe forgetting kindness is." The Queen was silent. The lights around them dimmed again. For a long time, neither spoke. Rin walked closer to the control panel and examined it. The readings showed that the ship's core was unstable. "Your ship is dying," Rin said. "I can try to help stabilize it." "Our technology is not like yours, but I can try." The Queen looked at him, unsure. "You would help a stranger? An alien queen of a fallen empire?" Rin smiled. "Why not? You're not a threat. You're someone who needs help." For a moment, the Queen's mind went quiet. She had not heard such simple honesty in thousands of years. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer. "Very well, human. Do what you can. But this ship is part of me. If it fails, I will fail with it," Rin nodded. "Then I better not fail." He began working, connecting small human devices to the glowing crystal systems. The Queen watched him silently. Every few minutes, she guided him with calm instructions, her voice echoing like music. As the minutes passed, faint power returned to the chamber. The floor lights brightened and the air became warmer. The Queen's color changed too, her skin glowing with stronger light. When the power lines reconnected, Rin turned toward her and smiled. "It's working." The Queen nodded slowly. "You are skilled for one so young. Your kind must value learning," Rin shrugged. "We try. Curiosity keeps us moving." She looked at him closely again. "Your people must be brave. You travel among stars with no fear of what you may find." Rin laughed gently. "Oh, we do feel fear. We just don't let it stop us." The Queen stepped closer once more. Her expression was unreadable. "I do not understand humans," she said. "You look fragile, yet your hearts are strong." Rin looked up at her towering figure. "Maybe that's our secret." For the first time, the Queen almost smiled. A faint light moved across her face like the reflection of a sunrise. Rin walked to the edge of the chamber and looked out through a broken window that showed the dying star outside. "It's strange," he said, "that something so beautiful can burn itself away." The Queen followed his gaze. "Stars are like empires," she said. "They shine brightest before they die." Rin nodded. "And sometimes they give life before they go out." The Queen turned toward him. "You speak like a philosopher, human." "I'm just an explorer," he said simply. She studied him again, then whispered almost to herself, "Perhaps that is enough." As they stood together, the great ship groaned, its voice echoing through the empty halls. The Queen raised her hand and placed it on the wall, as if feeling the pulse of her world. Rin looked at her and asked, "What are you thinking?" "I am thinking," she said slowly, "that perhaps my awakening was not an accident." Outside, the dying star flared once more, sending waves of red light across the hull of the ancient ship. Inside that quiet chamber, the last queen of a lost race and a lone human explorer stood side by side, watching the storm of light together. And for the first time in centuries, the Queen did not feel alone. The great ship drifted in the red glow of the dying star. Inside its halls, quiet footsteps echoed as Rin walked beside the last queen of the Virex. Her tall form moved with silent grace, and the soft light from her body lit the walls. The ship felt less empty now that two living beings walked its corridors again. Rin's small scanner blinked as he studied the readings. "The energy core is stable for now," he said, "but parts of the system are still offline. I can help reconnect them if you guide me." The Queen looked at him with calm eyes. "You have learned fast, human. My kind would never have allowed an outsider to touch our sacred systems." Rin smiled a little. "Maybe your kind never met someone too stubborn to listen." Her gaze softened. "Perhaps. Come, I will show you the heart of this ship." They moved through long tunnels lined with crystal veins that pulsed faintly like living tissue. Strange symbols glowed on the walls, whispering memories of a forgotten age. As they walked, Rin kept looking around, filled with wonder. The design of the place felt more like a living creature than a machine. "The Virex built ships from both metal and life," the Queen said as if reading his thoughts. "We believe technology and nature should not fight. Our ships grew as we grew, Rin nodded. That's beautiful. On Earth, we still struggle to balance the two. The Queen stopped walking and turned toward him. Earth, she said slowly. Your world still has oceans? Yes, Rin said. Blue oceans, green forests, white clouds. It's small compared to this ship, but it's full of life. The Queen closed her eyes for a moment. We once had oceans that sang in light. When the twin suns set, the waves would glow with silver fire. My people danced on the shores, believing our songs reached the stars. Rin listened silently. Her voice was soft, but there was sadness inside it. A quiet pain that had lived too long. What happened to your people? Rin asked gently. The Queen walked forward again, her steps slow. We wanted to become gods. We had conquered the stars and thought nothing could stand against us. We shaped suns, moved worlds, and created life itself. But pride is a quiet poison. It makes even wise ones blind. They entered a vast chamber filled with thousands of floating lights. The air shimmered like water. Rin looked around in awe. What is this place? He asked. The Queen lifted her hand. This is the memory hall. Each light holds a soul of my people who once served here. Rin's breath caught as the lights moved, forming faint shapes of beings who looked like the Queen. They were tall and radiant, but their faces were filled with sorrow. One by one, the lights faded again, leaving only a soft glow. Rin lowered his head. I'm sorry, he said quietly. The Queen's voice was calm but heavy. We destroyed ourselves. Our last war tore apart half our empire. The stars we shaped became weapons. I ordered myself to be sealed in stasis before the end came, hoping that one day someone might find this place and remember who we were. She turned her eyes toward Rin. But now I see the truth. There is no one left to remember. Rin shook his head. That's not true. I'm here. I'll remember. And when I return to Earth, others will know your story. The Queen looked surprised. You would tell your people about us? Yes, Rin said firmly. Because your story matters. It's a warning and a hope at the same time. For the first time since she had awakened, the Queen looked uncertain. Hope, she whispered. That word feels strange in my mouth. Rin smiled softly. You'll get used to it. They continued walking until they reached the central chamber. A great sphere of energy floated above a pit, shining weakly like a dying heart. The Queen placed her hand on a nearby control pillar and light spread across the floor. This is the ship's core, she said. It feeds on stellar energy, but it has not drawn power for centuries. Rin studied the readings. The systems are old, but maybe I can connect your energy flow again. You just need a new link between the conduits. The Queen watched him work. His movements were careful but confident. For a being who came from a much smaller world, he showed remarkable courage and patience. She found herself studying him more than she expected. Human, she said after a while. You remind me of the early builders of my kind. They too worked with quiet hands, believing they could shape beauty out of chaos. Rin smiled without looking up. Maybe we share more than we think. He finished adjusting a connection and stepped back. Try it now. The Queen touched the control pillar again. The great sphere flickered, then flared brighter. The floor vibrated slightly as energy began to flow again through the walls. The hum of life filled the air. Rin grinned. There we go. Your heart's beating again. The Queen turned to him, eyes glowing brighter. You have done what I thought impossible. It's just teamwork, Rin said. You guided me. For a long moment she said nothing. Then her voice grew quiet. You risked much for me, human. Why? Rin looked up at her towering figure. Because life deserves a second chance, even when it feels lost. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly as if she was deep in thought. My kind would never have said such words. We believed only the strong had the right to survive. Maybe that's why humans keep going, Rin said. We're not always strong, but we try to help each other stand up again. The Queen turned away, her gaze on the shining core. You speak as if your kind has no faults. Rin chuckled softly. Oh, we have many. But we also learn. Sometimes the hard way. The Queen's expression softened. You are strange creatures, humans. You walk among the stars with fragile bodies, yet you speak to queens of lost empires as equals. Rin shrugged. Maybe because we don't see you as less or more. Just someone else trying to live. The Queen's voice grew quiet again. You do not fear me? Rin looked at her calmly. No, should I? Her eyes glimmered faintly. If you saw what I truly am, perhaps you would. Rin tilted his head. I've seen death, silence, and loneliness out here. None of them scare me, so I don't think you can. The Queen looked down at her reflection on the crystal floor. Her features were alien, sharp, luminous, and shifting like light through water. She raised her hand and stared at it. My kind believed we were beautiful once. But look at me now. I am twisted, imperfect. I am hideous. Rin did not speak at once. He walked closer, standing beside her. He could see her face reflected in the glowing surface, not human, not familiar, but filled with life. You're still alive, he said quietly. That makes you beautiful in a way that nothing dead can be. The Queen turned her head sharply, surprised. You call me beautiful? Rin smiled gently. Not for how you look, but for what you are. You survived when everything else ended. That's beauty too. The Queen's eyes widened slightly. She had expected fear, maybe disgust, but not kindness. Her voice trembled a little. You are a strange creature, human Rin. You speak with warmth to something you cannot understand. Maybe that's what understanding really is, Rin said. Not seeing with eyes, but feeling with heart. For a moment, the Queen could not find words. The silence around them felt softer now, almost peaceful. The Queen finally spoke in a low voice. Long ago, my people looked at other species and saw only weakness. But you, a small human, speak to me as if I am equal. It is confusing. Rin looked up at her calmly. That's because you are. You just forgot it for a while. The Queen stood still, her body glowing faintly in the dim light. She did not know what to say. For thousands of years she had lived in darkness, believing herself cursed. Now, one simple human's words had shaken her more than centuries of silence. Rin returned to his tools, checking the energy lines again. Your system should last a while now, he said. But the rest of the ship needs more work. I'll help you fix it if you'll let me. The Queen looked at him for a long moment before answering. He says you may stay, Rin smiled. Then let's bring this place back to life. The Queen watched him start to work again, his small figure moving confidently among the vast machines of a forgotten empire. She realized something new inside her, a feeling she had thought lost forever. It was not just hope. It was trust. Outside, the dying star continued to burn weakly, sending red light through the great windows. Inside, for the first time in ages, the ship began to hum with life. And deep within her heart, the Queen of the Virex felt something even stronger than power. The warmth of a friendship that was beginning to change her forever. The ship had begun to hum with life, its systems glowing softly in rhythm with the Queen's energy. The gardens had been restored, the core stabilized, and the halls of memory now carried faint pulses of light like a heartbeat. Rin had spent hours reconnecting channels and checking conduits. And for the first time since the Queen awakened, there was a feeling of peace in the ancient vessel. But peace, Rin had learned long ago, was fragile. As he was examining a series of energy nodes, a sudden jolt shook the chamber. Alarms flashed across the control panels, warning of an incoming presence. Rin's heart skipped a beat as the readouts displayed multiple ships approaching the Virex world ship at high speed. Captain, Rin said into his comm, we've got incoming traffic. Multiple ships, and they're moving fast. They're armed. The Queen, standing nearby, turned sharply. Her luminous eyes glimmered with tension. Who are they? She asked. Scavengers, Rin said. From another sector. They pick off old ships like this one for parts. They'll strip this place clean if we don't act. The Queen moved toward the central platform. Then we must defend what remains. I will awaken the defense systems. You human will assist me. Are you ready? Rin nodded, gripping the tools he had been using. I'm ready. Let's save your world. The Queen placed her hands on the central console, and the ship responded with a low hum that grew into a roar. Light spread along the walls, forming grids of energy barriers and defensive turrets. The great ship, once silent and dormant, began to stir like a sleeping giant. Rin moved quickly, assisting her by rerouting power to sections that had been offline. Some of these turrets are ancient, he said, adjusting the systems. They might not work properly without extra energy. The Queen nodded. Then we will share the burden. Your species is clever with small things. That may save us all. Outside the viewports, the scavenger fleet approached. Their ships were jagged and dark, weapons mounted along their edges. The smallest mistake could bring the world ship down. Rin took a deep breath and steadied his hands. They're closing fast, he said. I'll need your guidance to deploy the shields. The Queen's hands moved with precision over the glowing panels. Energy shields activated. We will slow their approach, but it will not be enough to stop them entirely. Rin stepped back and examined the energy grids. Then we'll have to be smarter. We'll make them think the ship is smaller than it is. Divide their attention. The Queen looked at him, a faint smile appearing. Your courage matches your species' reputation, human. The first scavenger ship fired. Bright beams of energy struck the outer hull. Sparks flew and the lights flickered for a moment. Rin's heart raced, but he steadied himself, rerouting energy to reinforce the shields. The Queen called out calmly, "Focus your efforts on the shield generators. I will redirect power to the turrets." Rin worked with steady hands. His mind raced with calculations and adjustments. Small machines he had modified earlier began to fire automatically, striking at incoming ships. The battle intensified. The scavengers attacked in coordinated waves, trying to overwhelm the shields. The Queen's form glowed brighter as she used her energy to guide the ship's ancient systems. Crystalline turrets rose from the walls, firing beams of concentrated light. Rin ducked behind a console as a beam grazed the floor near him. "They're stronger than I expected," he said, adjusting the targeting systems. "You are not alone," the Queen said. "Use what you have. Trust in your instincts." Rin took a deep breath and focused. He activated a feedback pulse through the energy conduits, overloading the shields momentarily but creating a ripple that threw the scavenger ships off balance. A few of their vessels collided with one another, giving the Queen time to strike with precision. She extended her hands, and a wave of radiant energy shot through the corridors of the ship, synchronizing with the turrets. Beams of light streaked through the vacuum outside, striking the scavenger fleet with deadly accuracy. Several ships were disabled instantly, spinning out of control. Rin's voice was calm but urgent. "We're holding them back, but more are coming. We need to finish this quickly." The Queen's eyes glowed with determination. "Then we finish it together. Humans are not weak. You understand fear and choice. That is a power of its own." Rin smiled faintly at her words. "I'm glad you think so." The battle raged on for what felt like hours. The Queen's energy flowed through the ship like lifeblood, and Rin's quick thinking kept the system stable. Despite the pressure, Rin noticed something strange. The Queen moved with fluidity and precision he had never seen before. Her energy didn't just power the ship. It seemed to guide it, almost like the vessel itself had become an extension of her body. Finally, the scavenger fleet began to falter. Their attacks grew desperate, uncoordinated. Rin had anticipated their maneuvers and created traps using the ship's defensive grid. Beams of redirected energy struck their engines, leaving several ships adrift. The Queen floated near the observation window, her luminous form reflecting in the glass. "They are learning too slowly," she said. "Our enemy underestimates what we can do together." Rin adjusted a final conduit, sending a pulse of energy that overloaded the remaining scavenger vessel's shields. One by one, their ships were disabled or forced to retreat. The red light of the dying star reflected off their spinning hulls as they fled into the void. The Queen exhaled softly, her glow dimming as the battle ended. "They are gone," she said. "For now, we are safe." Rin leaned against a console, catching his breath. "That was intense. I didn't expect to fight aliens today." The Queen looked at him with a faint smile. "You did not hesitate. You stood against them knowing the risk. That is a rare courage," Rin shrugged. "I just did what needed to be done. Besides, it felt wrong to watch without helping." The Queen's gaze softened. "And that is why humans survive even when everything seems lost. Your species does not rely on strength alone. You rely on will and choice. That is something my people forgot long ago." Rin looked at her, understanding the weight of her words. "Maybe that's why we keep moving forward. We see value in life, no matter how small." The Queen nodded slowly. "Perhaps. And perhaps that is why I survived. Because someone like you found me and reminded me that life still matters." Rin glanced around the control chamber. Some of the systems were damaged and the ship's walls were scarred from the attack, but it still stood. "We'll need to repair the hull and check the engines, but it can be done." The Queen walked toward him, her form glowing faintly. "You have given me hope, human Rin. Not just for myself, but for what remains of my world." Rin smiled. "Hope is the first step. The next step is making sure it lasts." She looked at him, a strange warmth in her luminous eyes. "You are different from the humans I imagined. Brave, yes, but also kind. I did not know such a thing existed beyond our records." Rin laughed softly. "It exists in all of us if we choose to see it." For the first time in centuries, the Queen felt a sense of connection. She had been alone for so long, believing herself unworthy and hideous. But here was a human who treated her as an equal, who saw strength where she had seen only ruin. They moved through the corridors together, assessing damage. The walls of the ship hummed in response to her energy, and Rin worked quickly to stabilize the systems that were still failing. The battle had been exhausting, but it had also awakened something in the Queen. She paused near a shattered observation window, gazing out at the retreating scavenger fleet. "They underestimated this ship," she said. "And they underestimated us," Rin nodded. "They don't know the power of teamwork or the courage of someone who refuses to give up." The Queen turned to him. "You have shown me that courage can exist in forms smaller than I imagined. That even fragile beings can stand against overwhelming odds." Rin smiled, feeling a sense of pride and relief. Sometimes the smallest acts make the biggest difference. The Queen's glow brightened slightly. "Then perhaps my world ship will survive. Not because I am strong alone, but because someone reminded me of the strength in life itself." Rin looked at her and spoke softly. "And we'll make sure it continues, together." Outside, the red light of the dying star reflected off the ship, casting long shadows across the empty corridors. Inside, a human and the last queen of the Virex walked side by side, rebuilding not just the vessel but a bond forged in courage, trust, and hope for the first time in centuries. The Queen felt something she had thought lost forever. Life was worth fighting for, and for the first time in centuries she believed that the universe could be beautiful again. The great ship was no longer silent. Its walls pulsed with faint blue light and soft vibrations traveled through its long halls. For centuries, no sound had echoed within these corridors. Now there was the rhythm of life again. Rin moved carefully along the pathways, fixing the smaller power channels one by one. Every time a new section came online, he felt a small sense of pride. The Queen watched him work from a distance. Her tall figure stood near the control platform, her glowing form brightening as the ship recovered. For the first time in ages, she did not feel like a ghost haunting the ruins of her people. "You humans are persistent," she said as Rin reconnected another energy line. "You work without rest." Rin smiled a little, wiping the dust from his gloves. "We have to. If we stop, things fall apart." The Queen tilted her head. "And yet you are so fragile. One mistake, one broken seal, and you could die here." Rin chuckled softly. "That's true. But life is short for us anyway, so we try to make it count." The Queen looked thoughtful. "Perhaps that is your strength. You live like each moment matters." Rin nodded, checking the next system. "Every moment does matter. Even the small ones." The Queen stepped closer. "I have lived for thousands of years. I have seen worlds born and die. Yet I never thought to count the small moments. Maybe that is why we fell." Rin looked at her quietly. "You can start now. It's never too late." Her eyes met his. They were full of light, but behind that light there was something gentle, something human-like. She turned away after a moment. "Come, I want to show you something." Rin followed her through a long corridor that curved upward. As they walked, the air became warmer, filled with a faint scent like rain. The sound of trickling water echoed ahead. When they reached the end of the passage, a large chamber opened before them. It was a garden, a hidden oasis inside the ancient ship. Strange plants with transparent leaves glowed softly. Streams of liquid light ran through small channels, and crystals grew like flowers from the ground. Rin stood in awe. "This is beautiful," he said softly. "I didn't know anything like this could survive here." The Queen looked around the garden. "It should not have. The systems that fed it failed long ago, but somehow the life here adapted. It learned to live on what little energy remained." Rin knelt and touched one of the glowing plants gently. It felt cool, almost alive. "Even your plants refuse to give up. Seems like life always finds a way." The Queen smiled faintly. "Yes, perhaps even I can learn from them." They walked through the garden together. The Queen told him stories about her people, how they once built cities that floated above the clouds and harvested energy from stars without harming them. She spoke of the early Virex who believed the universe was a living being and every planet was a heartbeat. Rin listened with deep interest. "It sounds like your people were dreamers," he said. "We were," she replied. "But dreams without humility turn into fire." He looked around the peaceful garden. "Then maybe this place is the dream that survived." The Queen's eyes softened again. "You speak with kindness, human. You make even ruins sound like blessings." Rin laughed lightly. I just call it how I see it. They continued walking until they reached a tall crystal structure in the center of the garden. The Queen touched it and light filled the chamber. Around them, faint holographic images appeared, moving pictures of her world as it once was. There were oceans of shining water, tall silver towers, and skies filled with bright rings. Rin could see thousands of Virex walking together, their bodies glowing softly like living stars. He saw children playing near rivers of light and heard faint echoes of their laughter. Then the images changed. Darkness spread across the skies and fire rained from above. The towers fell and oceans boiled. The Virex ships rose to fight but were torn apart by their own creations. The Queen's voice grew low. This was the end. We fought each other over who should control the stars. In the end, the stars consumed us. The vision faded, leaving only the quiet hum of the garden. Rin stood silently. You must have lost everything, he said softly. The Queen nodded slowly. I lost my people, my world, and even my own belief in beauty. When I looked at myself, I saw only what remained of our mistakes. Rin looked up at her. But you're still here. That means something. You can still choose what happens next. She turned to him. Choose what? To wander alone forever? To remember what cannot return? No, Rin said calmly. To start again. Maybe not the same way, but in a new one. The Queen studied him closely. You speak as if hope is easy. Rin shook his head. It's not. But it's worth holding. For a long time, neither spoke. The soft lights of the garden reflected on the Queen's face. She looked down at the pool of glowing water near her feet. Her reflection shimmered, showing her strange, luminous form. Do you think I am frightening? She asked suddenly. Rin blinked, surprised. Frightening? No, why would I? She looked at her own reflection again. Because I am not like you. My body is made of light and crystal. My shape shifts when I move. My voice is not even sound. I am not beautiful, human. I am something else. I am hideous. Rin stood beside her, watching the reflection too. He saw what she saw. A being unlike anything from his world. Tall, alien, radiant, but scarred. Yet in her eyes there was sadness, not pride. You know what I see? Rin said quietly. I see someone who survived when everything else didn't. I see strength. I see life that refused to give up. That's beauty to me. The Queen looked at him, unable to reply. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not her advisors, not her warriors, not even her people. All her life, beauty had meant perfection. Now this human was telling her that beauty was simply being alive. Rin smiled gently. Where I come from, the most beautiful things are the ones that endure. A tree that grows through stone. A bird that flies after a storm. A person who stands after loss. The Queen turned away slightly, her voice soft. You make weakness sound like power. It is power, Rin said. Because only the brave keep going when they have nothing left. The Queen said nothing for a long moment. Then slowly she reached out her hand toward the pool. Her fingers touched the glowing water, and ripples spread across it. For the first time her reflection seemed softer, less harsh. Maybe I was wrong, she whispered. Maybe I am not hideous after all, Rin nodded. You never were. She looked at him again, and something in her expression changed. A spark of warmth that had not been there before. You are different from the others I have known. Your words do not seek to control. They heal. I just tell the truth, Rin said simply. The Queen stood taller, her light growing stronger. Then hear my truth, human Rin. You have awakened something in me that I thought long dead. I feel hope, Rin smiled. That's the best thing you could feel. They stayed in the garden for a while longer, watching the glowing plants sway gently as the air systems restarted. Rin told her about Earth, the green fields, the deep oceans, and the laughter of children. He spoke about human history, full of mistakes and small victories. When he described the stars above Earth, the Queen listened closely. Your people look at the stars with wonder, she said, even after knowing they can destroy you. That's what makes us human, Rin said. We look anyway. The Queen looked up through the transparent ceiling. The dying star outside cast a faint red light over the garden. Then perhaps, she said softly, we are not so different after all. Later they returned to the main chamber. The energy levels were improving, and the systems of the ship began to hum in harmony. Rin checked the readings one last time and smiled. It's holding steady now. Your ship is healing. The Queen looked around her, pride flickering in her glowing eyes. Our ship? She corrected gently. Rin laughed. All right, our ship. They both stood in silence for a while, watching the lights brighten. The Queen placed her hand on the nearest wall and whispered a few words in her own language. The ship responded with a low, melodic tone, as if it recognized her voice. Rin looked at her curiously. What did you say? I told it, she replied, that it is no longer alone. Her words made Rin smile. He looked up at the glowing lines above them, stretching like veins through the ship. Neither are you, he said quietly. The Queen turned toward him. Her glowing eyes held something new, not sorrow but peace. Perhaps you are right, human Rin. Perhaps I am not. Outside, the red light of the dying star reflected off the metal surface of the ancient ship. Inside, the human and the last queen of the Virex stood together, two beings from different worlds who had begun to rebuild not just a ship, but something far greater. Hope. The ancient ship floated silently above the glowing remnants of the dying star. Inside, the hum of restored energy resonated through the corridors. The battle was over. The scavenger fleet had fled, and the Virex world ship began to shine once more with its own light. Rin and the Queen moved through the halls together, their footsteps echoing softly. The Queen, Mira, had not spoken much since the battle, but Rin could sense her thoughts in the faint glow of her eyes. She was studying the repaired systems, touching the walls lightly, as if greeting an old friend she had feared lost forever. Your ship is alive again, Rin said softly, walking beside her. It feels like it has been waiting for this moment. Mira nodded. It has been waiting for life, human Rin. Not just the mechanical pulse, but life in its presence. And now it has found it. They reached the central chamber where the energy sphere pulsed brightly, casting long ribbons of light across the floor. Rin paused, staring at the glowing structure. It's beautiful. Strong and alive again, Mira looked at him. Strength alone would not have saved it. Courage alone would not have done this. It took more than power. It took hope. Rin smiled. Then we gave it that. For a while they stood in silence, watching the glow of the ship. Outside, the red light of the dying star reflected off the hull, painting everything in a warm, soft light. Rin could feel a quiet peace in the air, as if the ship itself were breathing easier for the first time in centuries. Mira turned to him, her luminous eyes fixed on his. You, human, gave me something that I believed lost. You reminded me that life, even after centuries of loss, can still hold meaning. Rin stepped closer. You didn't need my reminder. You survived. That is courage itself. I only helped you see it again. The Queen lowered her gaze to the crystal floor where her reflection shimmered faintly. For so long I looked at myself and saw only ruin. I thought I was hideous, unworthy of life, but you showed me that surviving, choosing to continue, is a kind of beauty all its own. Rin smiled gently. You always had it, Mira. You just forgot. For the first time, Mira allowed herself a faint, soft smile. It was almost shy, almost human. Perhaps humanity is wiser than I imagined. You see worth where others see only failure. Rin nodded. We try to, and sometimes it surprises even us. The hum of the ship grew stronger, filling the chamber with steady warmth. The energy that had once been dormant now flowed freely, reflecting Mira's revived spirit. She reached out and touched the sphere at the center. Light spread along her fingers, filling the room like dawn. This ship will live again, she said softly. And perhaps I will too. Rin's heart lifted. You won't be alone. I'll help you find a place where life can begin again. You've earned that. Mira looked at him, her eyes wide with a mixture of gratitude and wonder. You would do that for me? Of course, Rin said simply. Not just for you, but for the memory of your people. They deserve a chance to be remembered, even if only in hope. She took a deep breath. Then we must leave this place, human Rin. The galaxy is wide. Perhaps together we can find a world worthy of life again. Rin nodded. And when we do, you won't have to stand alone. We'll face it together. Mira's glow brightened at his words. She moved to the observation window, staring out at the vast emptiness beyond. The red star below was dying, its energy waning, but the galaxy stretched out before them, full of worlds, full of possibilities. Your people look at the stars and wonder what lies beyond, she said softly, even knowing danger waits. Perhaps this is why you survive. You are never afraid to look. Rin smiled, feeling a quiet warmth in his chest. That's right. We look anyway, and sometimes we find friends in the places we least expect. Mira turned toward him. Then let us find our next world together. He offered her a hand and she reached out. The light from her fingers met his, and for a moment the chamber was filled with pure radiance. The ship hummed as if joining in their promise. They moved to the command bridge. Rin activated the navigation systems, plotting a course beyond the dying star, beyond the Virex system, and toward the uncharted regions of the galaxy. This ship has traveled for thousands of years, Rin said. It has seen the rise and fall of empires. Perhaps now it will see something new. Life that grows with hope rather than pride. Mira watched him work, her hands resting on the controls. I feel lighter, human, not just in body but in spirit. You have awakened something in me that I thought was gone forever. Rin glanced at her. It was always there. You just needed someone to remind you. The ship shivered as the engines roared to life. The vast vessel, once silent and dormant, now moved with confidence. Stars stretched into streaks of light outside the observation window. Rin and Mira watched together as the galaxy opened before them. This is the beginning, Rin said, not the end. Not just for the ship or for your people, but for you as well. Mira looked at him, eyes glowing softly. I never thought I would feel hope again. And yet here it is, shining brighter than any star I have known. Rin smiled. That's what humans do. We find light in the dark, even when it seems impossible. The Queen turned back to the console, adjusting the course for the stars beyond. Then let us go, human Rin. We will find a place where life can bloom again, together. He nodded. Together. The ship glided through the red glow of the dying star, leaving behind centuries of silence and sorrow. Rin watched Mira's reflection in the glass, no longer haunted, no longer believing herself hideous. She had found a new purpose, a new path, and a friend who would walk it with her. Hours passed as the ship traveled. Rin and Mira worked side by side, checking systems, adjusting conduits, and exploring the restored corridors. Every step felt like a small victory, a promise that life, even after destruction, could continue. Mira led Rin to the garden once more. The plants glowed brighter than before, as if responding to her renewed energy. Streams of liquid light flowed freely, and the crystalline flowers swayed gently in the faint currents of air. This garden, Mira said, was once a place of memory. Now it is a place of hope. Rin knelt beside a small glowing plant. It survived, just like you. Life always finds a way, she smiled softly. Perhaps that is why I survived as well. Not just to remember, but to continue. The two of them walked through the halls past the memory chamber, where the faint lights of the Virex still glimmered. Rin felt a deep respect for what had been lost and hope for what could still be. This ship, Rin said, is a bridge between past and future, between your people and the worlds yet to come. Mira looked at him with glowing eyes. And you, human, are the bridge between my despair and hope. Rin laughed lightly. Then I guess we make a good team. She inclined her head, her luminous form shimmering in the soft light. Yes, a team that will travel the stars and bring life where it has been forgotten. The ship moved steadily through the darkness, leaving the dying star behind. Rin and Mira stood side by side, watching the vast expanse of the galaxy open before them. Every star they passed was a reminder that life could endure, that hope could grow, and that even the most broken could find a place in the universe. Mira turned to Rin, her voice quiet but certain. You have changed me, human. Not just with your words, but with your courage. I no longer fear being seen. I no longer fear what I am, Rin smiled. You were never meant to fear. You were meant to survive, to shine, and to find life again. The Queen looked at her reflection in the glowing glass. For the first time she saw herself clearly, radiant, strong, and alive. She whispered softly, almost to herself, I am not hideous. I am a survivor. That is beauty beyond shape. Rin reached out, placing his hand beside hers on the glass. Exactly. And now, we will go to a place where that beauty can grow, where life can begin again. Mira nodded, a soft glow radiating from her. Then let us go. Together, human and Queen, they set the course for Earth. Not the home she had known, not the empire that was lost, but a world full of life and wonder. The galaxy stretched before them, vast and endless, and they moved forward into it, carrying hope, courage, and the promise of a new beginning. The ship pulsed with life, the garden bloomed inside, and for the first time in centuries, the last queen of the Virex smiled without fear. Life had returned, and with it the promise of something beautiful beyond the stars. Rin looked at her and said softly, "You are alive. That is all that matters." Mira's eyes shone with light. "And you reminded me why life is worth living, human Rin. Thank you." They both turned to the stars, moving forward together. The galaxy would remember this day, not as an end, but as a beginning. The day a human showed an alien queen that even in the ruins of the past, hope and life could shine brighter than any star.